As the saying goes, there are two things that every human on the face of this earth would absolutely have to do. One is pass away at some point, and hopefully after a long, adventurous, and prosperous life. And the second one is pay taxes. So, if we all have to pay taxes, why are there so many questions and so little resources? Why is it that we don't take full advantage of the tax codes that are out there? And better yet, why are so many people behind taxes and confused about where to reach out for help? We're discussing all of that and more in this week's episode. Stay tuned. Welcome to this week's edition of Entrepreneur Insider. I'm your host and the founder of the Black Entrepreneurs Network, Tia Robertson. Thank you for joining us. As you know, this is the place to come and get the information that you need, whether you're starting or scaling your business, whether you're a business student or a seasoned professional with an established business. There is always something for us to learn and a positive impact that we can make in our communities of color. And I'm here to help you along on that journey. Don't forget to like this show and share it with your community, because that's how we all get ahead, is by sharing positive and accurate and timely information. This week, I am super excited to introduce you to an amazing resource that all of you need in your lives. As we mentioned in the opening, taxes are inevitable no matter where you live, especially if you are located in the United States or a territory. We have to pay taxes. So there always is the question of why people don't pay taxes. Do they just not know? Are they not prepared? Of course, a lot of people think that they owe taxes, and that's because there's so many tax laws and tax codes that we're not aware of because we're not trained tax professionals. But it's not just about doing our taxes, it's about having a strategy for your money and your taxes so that we get ahead instead of just making ends meet or just making those IRS payments. It's really important to have resources that are going to help educate you, answer your questions, and set you up for a better future. So we're not talking about those just radio ads that you hear with some people that you never really know of and you're not really sure if they're legit. We're talking about a seasoned, experienced professional that's going to talk to you in a level that you understand, that cares about you, your family, your future. That person is Sandra Morno. She is the owner of SSBM Consulting. She is a tax strategist and an IRS enrolled agent. So basically, that means she didn't just wake up and decide to do this. She went out and obtained the education and the information to help you get ahead. Want to know more? Of course you do. So whether you owe taxes or you're up to date, whether you own a business or not, this information is going to help you. So stay tuned and don't forget to share. Hey everyone, so excited to introduce you to this week's featured entrepreneur. Her name is Sandra Morno. She is a master tax strategist, an IRS enrolled agent, and a numbers geek at heart. Although Sandra usually resides in Miami, Florida, you can find her roaming around the world as a digital nomad. What a wonderful life. Um, and Sandra has made it her mission to make business owners realize that having a relationship with their money is critical to success and longevity in business. She now focuses on empowering women of color with service-based businesses on how to level the playing field so that they can save on taxes and use the tax code to their advantage, just like companies like Netflix and Amazon. She develops custom tax strategies and tax planning to ensure her clients are taking advantage of all of their tax savings. This removes their anxiety around taxes and, most importantly, gives them a sense of peace, knowing that someone has their back where their numbers are concerned. So we're super excited to learn all about Sandra. Hey, Sandra, welcome. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy Thursday, Tia. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. I know personally, I'm super excited to learn all about you and your business, and everyone else is too. But before we do, I have a question for you.
Yep.
What's the last book you've read, and what did you learn from it?
Oh my goodness.
That's a good one, right?
That
Like,
is a good one. It has been a minute since I've read a book. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think now. Hmm. I don't know. Like, can I take a minute to think?
yes, you can. You can. We'll put a pin. You'll come back on that one.
Like, I need to Google that or something. Do
I know.
audiobooks count? Like, there's so much going around in my head.
There's so much. And then what's funny is like when you think about it, you'll be like, wait, like after this is over, you'll be like, oh, I read this and I totally forgot, because
Yeah.
we take in so much stuff that,
Yes.
we kind of lose track of it. But yeah, you absolutely can come back to
Okay.
that one. All
Okay.
right. Okay. So tell us about your journey into entrepreneurship. So, have you always been an entrepreneur? Did you come from a corporate background? How did you end up where you are today?
Oh my goodness. If you look at my resume, I've done some of everything, right? So after college, I worked in something called the Florida Relay System, which is where um, you process calls for deaf people. So you have to
Mm,
have those types of skills, it was interesting because like, I'm like, deaf people are people. So it's just like typing all these cuss words in their conversations. I'm like, oh, y'all just kind of, y'all out there. Um, After that, I bartended. I worked for an indoor football team as the operations manager. I owned a cleaning company for a couple of years, and then I wanted to be a sports agent, and that's kind of how I ended up in this field accidentally because I was actually getting my master's in business, and I was taking like some sports agent online classes, and a friend of mine needed help with his accounting company. And I was just like, sure, this works. I got to go to school, but I still need to make money. Right.
yeah.
And lo and behold, like I hated it, honestly, for the first couple of years. But then he was just like, you're good at this. Like, I don't know what it is, but you're good at these numbers. You're good at helping people. You understand it. And so he pushed me back in 2013 to kind of get my enrolled agent's license. Of course, like I was just like, I don't want any more school, but I don't want to learn anything. But
Right.
he was just like, well, these are the opportunities, right? And so I was just like, you know
Yeah.
what? I kind of got spoiled, working in taxes from 2009 to 2013, the flexibility and, making a good amount of money and still being able to like leverage life. And so from 2013 on, I branched out on my own because something had happened with my boss. And sometimes I think about it like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore because it's hard. Um, but that freedom, right? And that peace
Absolutely.
and,
Yeah.
being able to, kind of travel as a digital nomad. I had a job that was in tax resolution for a company,
Mhm.
and that was going well. And then it was holiday season time, right? And I'm just like, well, I got to go home. I was living in Houston at the time. I need to go home for like the holidays. And they were like, no. And I was just like,
Oh
okay,
no.
well, let me go ahead and put in my 2 weeks now because that's not what we're doing. And so
Yeah.
that just kind of changed my whole outlook. And I was just like, just been grinding, I guess you can
Yeah.
say, ever since.
Oh, I love that story. It's always so interesting to hear people's stories, but it also connects with those people that do have, different backgrounds and they're like, I can't be an entrepreneur because I don't have it all figured out. And we really, like you said, don't have to have it figured out. Sometimes we just kind of wander in it or people see things in us that we don't see. So that's an amazing story. Thank you. Okay. So tell us specifically about your business. SSBM Consulting, LLC. What do you do? What services do you offer? Who do you do it for? And what can they expect to receive from working with you? I know that's a loaded question,
Yeah.
but
um, so it's a small business tax prep company. We do small business taxes, small business tax planning, and then tax resolution. So tax resolution is basically helping people who have any type of issue with the IRS. That's kind of why I got that EA licensing. It helps me represent people. So that's what we do. I work with primarily women of color because we need the help. I kind of learned that a couple of years ago, and then 2020 just really showed that how so many people were getting these loans except us because we weren't structured right or we had bank accounts here and there, and it was just crazy. So I was just like, okay, we need the help. We need to understand how that works. um, uh, I think one of the things about working with women of color is that everyone was taught to work with a old white man CPA.
yep.
So, so that's
Yeah.
the problem that I come across with a lot of people. They're like, well, I don't know. You're not a CPA. I'm like, I don't need to be a CPA. Like, I just need to understand taxes, right? And so, what I preface when I work with people, it's just like this is a relationship. Like, I'm going to be on you. We're going to be looking at your numbers. We're going to be analyzing them. We're going to see how to keep your tax liability as low as possible, as legally as possible. That's one of the
Yes.
things I don't play like that because I don't
Yes.
want nobody knocking at my door.
Right.
And so, a lot of people don't understand, right? We all start our businesses in a certain way, and you're thinking just because you're an LLC, you're good until they file their taxes, and they're like, "Why do I owe $15,000? I don't understand what happened." And then that's when the education comes into play, right? And I tell people you can't just do your taxes. You can't just do your taxes between January and April. You have to be working on it. You got to see how much money you're making. Your books have to be in order. And we need to plan. We need to figure out how to make this work. If you got kids, let's put them on payroll, right? If you need a new car, let's put that car under the business. There's so many things that we can use the tax code for to help people legally keep their tax liability low. And so that's what I do. I'm on my clients about that.
Okay, I love that. Oh my gosh. And you're exactly right. I mean, just in that statement and the information that you shared, you demonstrated, right, why we don't need to go to that old white guy. Because, and not that anything's wrong with the old white guy, like that's
Yeah,
not what you said.
yeah,
But I promise you, and it's not just me, everybody out there, you know this, the old white guy is not telling us those things, right? They're not trying to help us, like, get our kids in payroll, put our house in the right, category. They're just like, let us do your thing and you
yep,
keep it moving and treating us like a
yep,
number, right?
pretty
And
much.
yeah, I even, and this is just a tangent story. I help with, well, my grandparents, even though my grandfather's passed, but my grandmother's taxes, and they had this guy that they met, and he's been doing their taxes for years, and just personal taxes, right? Like they've never
Mhm.
had a business, and between like dealing with their taxes once my grandfather passed, and then my grandmother really doesn't have, income, he did whatever he did. He sent it in the mail, which I'm like, do people still mail their taxes?
No, they don't.
Right. That was
Oh,
that was the first thing. But then so we had to wait for him to mail it to us. And then it was of course, the paper copy. But not only was it the paper copy, not that he sent us the copy, Sandra, he actually still sent the taxes that I had now to send to the IR. Like, remember back long time ago when we used to have to like, right. And
mm.
then the IRS was like, hey, we need to identify you, like, verify your identity. Right. Well, they thought it was my grandmother.
Yeah.
um and the information that I needed from him, like it was something they needed from the year before. And
Hmm.
so you think it would be as easy as picking up the phone or sending him an
Yeah.
email? Well, first of all, he has this old AOL email address. Like, this is
He
the
dated
this guy.
himself.
Like when we say old white guy, this
Yeah.
is the old white guy. He had an old AOL. Um, he couldn't, and then he wasn't organized enough to even answer my questions over the phone. And it wasn't like he knew who I was. Like, it's not like a
Um,
verification issue. It's just he wasn't organized. He's like, oh, I gotta go on my computer, and then he's like, I gotta print it, but my printer's broken. And I'm like, sir, what year are we in? Like, this is literally 2021. And then
Woo!
he was like, and so it took him, I want to say, at least 6 months to actually, and then when he finally got the stuff, he mailed it again to, yeah. So I'm like, this is exactly why people need, one, to work with, one, professionals that are up to date, but two,
Yes.
people that look like us. And because he doesn't care that their taxes
Yeah.
now are past due, he didn't file an
Oh my
extension, he didn't ask
gosh.
anything. And so, and like you said, some of these other things that we just, the average person, I don't know, I don't
Right.
know these things. And it's really important to meet people that are not going to like milk the system, right? Because everyone's like, I want a tax professional that's going to give me an extra $10,000 because yeah.
Mm-mm,
So
mm-mm.
thank
They
you.
about
All
that
that to
life.
say is thank you. So if people didn't hear what Sandra had to say about her services, trust me, those are all the benefits right there on top of all the other things. But okay. Um, so tell us, what does tax strategist mean? What does that term mean? Or like to the average person like me, like what is that? What's the difference between like a tax strategist and, like you mentioned, like a CPA or the other titles that people have? What does that mean?
So the thing is, that's a loaded question, kind of because CPAs, there's so many different types, right? I know
Oh,
CPAs that
really?
only do bookkeeping. Some CPAs only work in the public accounting system, like for the big companies like Deloitte. And then I know some CPAs that only do taxes.
Okay.
So, you know, it's funny because I talk to my friends who are CPAs, and I'm like, how did everyone just think that they needed to come to you guys? And they're just like, I don't know,
Hmm.
because I'm constantly telling people, no, I don't do this. I only do this. So, certified public accountant.
Okay.
That has,
That is
I don't know how that got to taxes, but that's what it is, right?
okay. Yeah,
um,
but that is good to know. And if people ever have a question about whether you could help them, they can always just reach out and say, "Hey, I have this situation. Is it something that you can help me out with, or do I
right,
need XYZ?"
right.
Gotcha.
Instead of like, I mean, I've been doing this since 2009, and people are always like, I need a CPA. And I'm like, do you? What is it that you need? Because anybody could file your taxes. If you're going to go to a CPA, just know they're going to charge you 2 or 3 times the amount because they have that licensing, right? But I
Yeah.
think that's just a lot of people are learning, slowly learning and seeing what
Yeah.
CPAs do. So a tax strategist is, we strategize basically in taxes. Like that is it. Like the IRS tax code. Like um, you'll see that those initials EA all
Mhm.
over LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. Those are people who are supposed to be able to help you with your taxes if you have an issue or if you want a tax plan. That's the main thing why we got this certification. Because you can either be an EA or a CPA, and I was just like, I don't like accounting like that. I just like taxes. So that's why
Gotcha.
I went this route. We specialize in taxation. We try to help you as much as possible, um, and I enjoy it personally. But it is something that takes finessing to explain people because they're like, I don't know what that means. Like, what is an EA? So,
Okay. Okay, that is good to know. Yeah, because most of us, let's keep it real, we don't know what a CPA is, or most. So when we hear those commercials, and I'm sure they play them across the country about like, hey, you're behind on your taxes, contact us and we'll help. Are those people IRS enrolled agents, or do they usually kind of, maybe are they like the middle person? They connect you with the IRS enrolled agent, or like.
So it's a whole firm. They probably have enrolled agents in the background. They have CPAs in the background. They have tax professionals in the background, right? They have different departments. That's how it was when I worked for a company. I was
Okay.
strictly dealing with revenue officers and clients that owed like over $50,000 to try to get that settled. And then we had people who only did the taxes. If they were like 10 years behind, that's what they did. So, yeah, those companies have a little bit of everything in them.
Okay, that's good to know. So just to clarify, if someone needs help specifically with tax prep, that's something they can come to you and get assistance with?
Yes, but I really only deal with small business owners because there's a lot more complexity in it. Unfortunately, when the tax laws changed, when 45 changed, I'm like, uh, personal taxes, like there's a lot you can't write off anymore. There's not much you can do because he took away a lot of the deductions.
Okay, perfect. And then while we're kind of talking about your specific audience, because we want to make sure the people that hear, for everybody that's watching this episode, we want to make sure that we understand what you do so they can, go to you for their questions and retain you for their services. But we also want to kind of keep the licky loos and the people that are right aren't, and kind of send them away. That's the purpose of this show, is for people to learn to ask questions. So small business owners, I know you work with women of color. Do they necessarily have to have a brick and mortar business, or do they can they have an online business? What about people that have like multi-level marketing businesses? And I know that's a really complex question, but just like an overview.
Well, I try to stick with service-based business owners, right?
Okay.
Multi-level marketing, they usually have some type of product that they're pushing, and that means inventory, which means a whole nother aspect of tax planning. And that's I don't want to do that. So I stick to mainly service-based business owners, so they can have a brick and mortar. Like I one of my clients is a hairdresser.
Okay.
Like that's not bad. So and then I have some of everything as clients. I have a truck driver, I have
Oh,
hairdressers, um, but it's all mainly service-based business owners and mainly people that look like me.
okay, perfect. And what results can the people that work with you expect to receive? Now, I know that's kind of a loaded question because everyone's situation is different, but like overall, what would you say that kind of sets you apart, and should attract them to working with you versus working with someone else that maybe, offers the same services, but they're not really for people of color? Like, what would be the benefits over, with working with you versus someone else?
So I offer an annual package. It's not just tax prep and then I see you next year, right? And your life has happened, and then you come back and I'm like, I don't know what to do here, like because you've had so many changes, right? With the annual package, we're speaking at least two times a year, and I'm reviewing your numbers, so I know if you sold a house. Like if there are any major changes, you need to reach out to me so we can see how that affects you tax wise, right? If you're buying a new car, all right, well you might need to buy that under the business name so that we can get those write offs. If you're selling a house, I need to know that too because we need to see how to make sure you don't get killed on taxes or if you have a rental property. So that's the whole thing when it comes to working with me. It's a year round, it's a relationship. We're talking several times. You can reach out to me if you have any questions. And like I said, I'm making sure that your numbers are okay. Like right around this time, it's the fourth quarter. This is when I'll talk to clients and be like, let's look at these numbers. Let's see what's going on because tax season is right around the corner, you know?
Yes.
I can't even believe it. But
Exactly.
this is the best time to plan. Let me see how you did all year long. Let's see what we can implement. If you need to stop taking any money in and be like, all right, no more, let's stop.
Wow.
Or if we need to accelerate your expenses, let's do that. So that's the importance of working with me. Like it's a year long process.
Okay, that is really good to know. What do you say to someone that thinks they have to have a certain amount of income before retaining the services of, someone like yourself or another tax professional? Like, a lot of people say, well, I'm just starting, or I don't feel like I have enough money, or I don't feel like my business is old enough. Like, what do you say to those people to let them know that, they need your services right now as well?
Yeah. You know what? There's a tax professional for every type of business owner. I have colleagues who work with startups. They love that because that is their forte, right? I have people who work with people who have been in business 25 years. It just really all depends on what type of help you're wanting and how much money you're making because everyone's different. Everyone is different. I am always willing to have a conversation with someone. And if it's not a good fit, then I'm like, hey, I have the perfect person for you that can help guide you.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And I know there are a lot of myths out there, especially now with the rise of social media. There's a ton of misinformation out there. But what's one of the biggest myths you've heard about business taxes when it comes to small business owners that you wish you could get the accurate information out there?
The biggest thing this year is like somebody's out there telling people, everybody to go get a G Wagon. And I'm like,
Oh, really?
I mean, think about that. You got to have some money to get that G Wagon so that you can write it off. Like, that is the most hilarious thing to me in the world. Like, and people are like, yeah, I need to go get
Yep.
this truck. And I'm like, with what money, sir? Like,
Right.
so you're gonna spend $80,000 to write off $80,000 that you don't really even have? That don't make sense. You do that if you are making money in your business, right? And you need some extra write-offs. Then we can consider that. And I'm not gonna tell you to go get no G wagon. I'm like, gas is way too expensive right now. You better go get you a Prius.
Thank you. Thank you. Right? I'm telling you. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's a there's so much competition out there. Like I have clients who will come to me and be like, "Well, can I do this?" And I'm like, "Where'd you hear that from?" And they're like, "Instagram." And I'm like,
Yep.
"Oh God, okay."
That's what I was
Oh,
gonna say. Instagram is out there sharing so much information that I'm like, it will have you think everybody can help you with your taxes, help you with your business credit, and yeah. So I'm glad, and that's why I like we have this forum, right? I want people to understand that Instagram is great for certain things, but
yeah,
for information, maybe not so much. Let me introduce you to a professional like yourself that can
yeah,
really answer your questions and kind of get people on the right track. And I love to hear that, like you said, you're willing to, if it's something that you don't offer or you don't specialize in, you can refer them to someone that can. So that is really great to know. Okay, so the next couple questions are really just more general about you and entrepreneurship.
right.
There are a few that'll kind of touch on your business, but a lot to kind of just pick your brain and help our audience. So, when it comes to attracting new clients, what marketing method have you found has worked best for you? And I know that may have changed over time. So, like right now, what's kind of working right to get your information out there to new people?
Um, I think I mean, I'm only really on LinkedIn, so I can only kind of speak for that. But I've also been doing a lot of um, one-on-one calls with other tax professionals. So that's actually been quite helpful because they'll send me clients and I'll send them clients, and everyone's happy. And so for me, I've been trying to build more collaborations and alliances with people that look like me. Kind of like, TBEN. So I'm super
Exactly.
excited about that. And TBEN has been a great help. We've met some amazing people, had some great one-on-ones, and I love the group.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's why we're here. Um, so you mentioned LinkedIn, and I love that you mentioned LinkedIn because without really knowing a lot about, like, I know we've spoken, but without really digging deep into your business, because I always love talking about people social media. I think that's a great platform and it's underrated because there are a lot of business professionals. There are the people that specifically in your target audience.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of times everybody just assumes I need to be on TikTok, I need to be on Facebook. And I'm like, is that where your audience is? So I love that that's where you are. We will absolutely share the URL to your LinkedIn page down below. But if you want to tell everybody what's your username on LinkedIn so we can find you.
Oh, it's just Sandra Morno. I think it's Sandra Morno Tax Expert, but there's only one Sandra Morno. I've
Okay.
checked.
All right, perfect. And while we're talking about LinkedIn, do you want to go ahead and let everyone know your website address as well?
It's kind of long. It's the name of my business, ssbmconsulting.com.
Perfect. Well, like I said, we will definitely make sure we share all of that down below in the show notes. And excuse me, if someone was interested in getting into this industry, whether it was, as a professional or joining like a team, like, I don't know if in the future you want to actually grow your team, what type of resources would they access? So like what type of blogs are out there they might want to look into reading? Are there podcasts that people can listen to, or are there strategists that they can follow? Like we definitely want them to connect to you. And hopefully I don't want people to call you like, hey, can I get a job? But if they have
Right.
questions about how to get started and things of that nature, what would you recommend they do to kind of, learn a little bit more?
Honestly, Facebook has really been a great resource. There are a lot of new groups popping up. Like there's a group called, I think, the American Association of Black Tax Professionals.
Oh,
There's something called Accountants of Color. There are some EA groups. So there are plenty of groups on Facebook that you can go into. And oddly enough, a lot of them are selling like
yeah.
tax professional courses. I'm like, hey, is that a thing?
Yeah.
But yeah, you could actually learn from quite a few people. So that's the best resource, just the easiest one. Because I the groups that I'm in, they're very active. People are constantly asking questions and they're getting the help that they need.
Okay, perfect. Now, speaking of courses, I know yours is still under construction, but you have a course that'll be coming out. I just wanted to make sure I open the door for you to share anything you want, but also to get an ETA. Will that be out later this year or the beginning of next year so we can kind of keep an eye out?
Oh, it'll definitely be out before the end of the year. I'm hoping to have like a Black Friday special, and it's actually going to be an introduction to tax resolutions course. So it's for tax professionals that want to do resolution and new EAs that really don't know where to start. I created it because I kind of fumbled my first couple of years, but I made it through, and so there's a lot to learn, but I think it's so worth it.
Okay. And actually, you kind of helped segue into our next question, which is about the importance of working with a business mentor, right? I don't know if you've ever worked with one,
Mhm.
but if someone reached out to you, have you ever considered being a mentor and kind of helping answer those questions and guide people? And what do you see as like maybe some of the benefits in having a mentor to someone in this industry?
I have thought about it, and you know, I think because the game is changing so much, it is good to have someone who will keep things on the legal side, right?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, in my industry, there's a lot of fudging of numbers and
Yeah.
people getting in trouble later down the line, and it's just sad to see. So, when I tell people that, when they want to get started in taxes, I'm like, baby steps. It's a lot to learn. People make it seem like it's easy, but it's not. So it's just good to have someone to bounce questions off of. I have a couple of women, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what the hell to do here,
Yeah.
and they can help me. So I do have a couple of people that we talk to quite often. So if someone's new and they want help, I'm more than happy, to answer a few questions. But let's not get crazy with
Yeah.
it.
Like, don't just call with random stuff. I know. Yeah, I totally understand. Where do you see the future of your business a year from now, 5 years from now? Um,
Ooh, I'm working on bringing in new people, kind of expanding because in 5 years, I want to just be overseeing. I don't want to be hands on in the business. I want to have a staff that can take care of everything. And, your girl working like 4 hours a week, getting a check, and the
Absolutely.
business is running itself. So that's the goal. That's the plan. I've written down my affirmations. So I'm like, I'm working towards that.
Absolutely. Okay. And one final question for you. What advice would you give that person of color or woman of color about how to get organized or stay organized, especially when they're working with you, and they have to share, right, their business documents and other information?
Well, the most important thing about getting organized is your numbers, right? So there's so many resources out there. I know everybody knows QuickBooks, but it's not the end all be all. There is something called Wave Apps that I love, and it's absolutely free. And so I usually guide people there because, all it takes is you kind of downloading your information in there, kind of keeping track of it, hopefully categorizing your expenses. But if you can't, there are so many bookkeepers out here that will do that for you at a reasonable rate. that's the most important thing. So when I talk to my clients, like the first thing I'm like, are your financials in order? Like, are they up to date? Because if they're not, you need to go back and do that so that we can work on your numbers.
Okay, that's good to know. And just to clarify, financials, do they need like the whole like P&L statement or those type of financials or
Yeah,
just,
it's like
yep.
mainly the P&L. I mean, the
Okay.
balance sheet is helpful, but a lot of like we don't want to get it complicated, right? Let's just work on the P&L. We can work on the balance sheet later. And I have some people that use Excel,
Okay.
and they send me their P&L. If that's how you want to do it, that's fine. But like for me, to make my life easier, you use a QuickBooks, you use a FreshBooks, you use a Wave apps. It makes life so much easier.
Okay, perfect. That is great to know. This has been an amazing interview and discussion with you, Sandra. We've learned so much about you, your business. I want everyone to make sure they check out SSVM Consulting and Sandra, right? Not with random questions, but about business related questions, about getting your papers in order, planning and strategizing for that tax season and beyond. So, absolutely make sure that you connect with Sandra online, not just like her, but follow her with your community. And Sandra, thank you again so much for spending this time with us.
Thank you. Oh, and I remember the book. Well, I don't remember the name, but it was a Joel Osteen book.
Okay.
Guys, I love me some Joel Osteen. He's the happiest man on the planet, I
He
believe.
is.
So,
Yes, he is. And you cannot go wrong. It's very inspirational as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
definitely cool. Well, thank you. That was a good one to remember.
yeah.
Well, thank you again so much, Sandra, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
For more information about Sandra and how she can help you in your business, be sure to look down below in the show notes. Reach out to her, like, follow, and of course, share her with your community. Because if you don't need her services, you absolutely know someone that does. Now, for more information about being featured or sponsoring a future episode, be sure to reach out to me. My email is info@theblackentrepreneursnetwork.com. I want to hear from you. What's your feedback? Do you have any questions? And what's your opinion about this episode? Post it down below. I can't wait to read it. If you have a suggestion for a future show topic or an entrepreneur that I should get in contact with, I want to know that as well. So definitely put that down below in the comments or send that to me by email. As always, this show is brought to you in partnership with Relationship Entertainment Television. They are the platform to go to for positive and engaging and entertaining programming. So definitely check them out on YouTube, on their website, and the Roku app. If you haven't downloaded it, be sure to do so. And if you haven't subscribed to their YouTube channel, do that as well. And again, don't forget to share. While you're there, hit that red subscribe button and the bell so you're notified when new episodes of Entrepreneur Insider premiere every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, don't forget, be great. Peace.
Tune in to Millionaire Man Cave on your Relationship Entertainment Television, Tuesdays at 8 p.m.
Tyron
and Nicole with your weekly RATV news break. Each Thursday at 12 noon Eastern, we'll come to you with the latest news, trends, and more with a positive spin.
We know there's a lot of positive news that doesn't get reported, but we want to give you the opportunity to share your story here on RATV. If you have a positive news story you want us to share, you can submit your story to news@re-tv.net.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Relationship Entertainment Television YouTube channel. Download the new RATV Live app on your mobile device and follow Relationship Entertainment Television on your favorite social media platform.
Don't forget, make sure you tune into the RATV News Break each Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Until then, be blessed and be great.
Welcome to What's Going On? My name is Demita Joe. Each Wednesday, you can find me here at 3 p.m. I'll be over here discussing different things that are going on and try to bring you a boost of positivity for your week because we all need this. We're going to share some feel-good stories. We might find a hometown hero. We may take a look at some trending topic. And sometimes we might even find a lesson in a not-so-warm and fuzzy story if we can. I'm Demita Joe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode right here on What's Going On?
Hey, it's your girl Tia Robertson. I'm the host of Entrepreneur Insider. Right here on RATV every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern for entrepreneurs and news that you need to know about. See you there.